welcome everyone. Let's waste no time with this. As you can see, you guys join me right on the bench. So as everyone knows, this is my 335. We are currently doing a big boost install. And yes, it has been nothing short of a lot of shortcomings. We've been missing some gaskets. That's not a big deal, like crush washers and such. My cooler pipe has been a nightmare, as well as the wastegate linkage arm. However, I had a good fabricator, and hey, turned a part-time fabricator myself, and we made a couple things. So we see the wastegate linkage. It goes from here. So of course, the electronic actuated one, not the pneumatic one. This L bracket was supposed to be included from Big Boost regarding their own kit. However, I took mine off the stock turbo, as well as they're supposed to have a new arm, but through some little rigmarole, I got the aluminum. If anyone wants the dimensions, let me know. You know my Instagram, hit me up, and I'm sure would provide everything. I don't want you guys to be in the same situation. At least they include the C-clips, so we're good for there. And once again, the regular bolts for their arm. So the reason I wanted to shout out this is because you're supposed to load the whole turbo inside the car first, and then you remove the compressor housing, and then you put it back on. But then after, they say put on the actuator. However, if this is now completely in the car, you do not know where any of this is, it gets very difficult. So I already did that on the bench, and I suggest everyone do the exact same. So now all I will have to do, I'm gonna remove these sleeve clips, put it in the car. Now I'll put the arm back in and kind of blindly put the clips back in, which I think will be a lot easier versus trying to do the entire process first. Once again, please read the instructions. They say call it about 26 millimeters from this tip to the end of the wastegate. Just from instructions, so everyone could read. I'm not going to insult your intelligence and waste time. So from there, we'll start loading it into the car. So we can see right down to the manifold studs. So what I'm going to do, just add a quick of high temperature anti-seize. So when they remove, they are easy. I did get the F80 type short body nuts. The ones I did pull off were actually in good shape. So I might alternate between which ones I use depending on what's best. So once again, I'll load the manifold up, and that's one thing I kind of do want to show you. I did do a nice little heat protecting wrap on it from DEI. Former Shield, I think it turned out amazing. It should help with some temps, as well I did do the titanium wrap in the downpipe. So I bolted the turbocharger to the manifold. Once again, they said don't use a gasket, but I kind of falling in love with this stuff. It's aviation former gasket. It's actually resistant to gasoline and oil, which RTV is not. It's very thin, and then you let it air dry for a little bit, so it lasts a very long time. So I bolted all these down. It was a little bit of a challenge, and once again, Big Boost says that you have to remove the compressor housing cover before you mount this turbocharge inside the car. I have some thick shop towels. I'm just gonna go and cover this front of this and then kind of tape it around, just in case a little small bump, it doesn't hurt it too badly. And then I will grease this, as they said, just around the openings and mount it to the block. And then once again, just try to hoist this big boy in there. I'm gonna try to get the best angles as possible, but once again, just me by myself, it's kind of hard to give you guys those angles. The car is torn apart. Click the video I just popping up the screenshot here. It's actually from Keys. It's for the prep of a pure stage 2, but it's pretty much the same. So I'll kind of just follow the same steps. Once again, we do have the gasket here, so I'll put little RTV on there. It doesn't look like it is directional. Looks pretty much the same. Small dent over here, it seems I have, but pretty sure once the manifold compresses, it should be okay. So should have been going to the gym for this, not skipping the gym for this.
You're what?
I should have been going to the gym for this, not skipping the gym for this. Because this thing is heavy as all hell. Yeah.
Can you move your camera?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can reach that. Really?
Okay everyone, apologies I could not film it. This is definitely more than a fight. So I got the turbo in, as you can see down there. You see the compressor housing. Once again, when I did the wrap, I was smart and made a little divot, so right straight is a stud, and so on and so forth. I just have the back corner there, so it's kind of holding off there. So I'm just trying to feed around, maybe get the bottom first. It may or may not be easier, I'm not sure. And then from there, once again, follow the torque sequence, and then I shall meet you back when I'm ready to start putting in the rest of the turbo kit. Also to note, as I put in the manifold nuts, I remembered to take a look. So these are the coolant lines. This one has the block adapter, I believe. Yeah, I think so. I don't know, we'll look at it. But you gotta know the hard line, as we could see. So this one sits into the block like that, and the bent goes in towards the car. And this one is the one that's facing the wheel well, the wheel side, and goes like this. Once again, I believe this one has the block adapter. So since the manifold isn't completely in, once again, still wrestling with it, and I have some play within the turbo, these bolts are kind of long, because think about it, you're going to have to line this up, then get the bolt in there, then tighten it down. So I'm going to kind of just drop them in place for now. Just stick my hand on there and just slowly tighten it. And then once again, if I like the fitment, I'll tighten down all the way. If not, then I'll just leave it loose for now and then continue tightening the manifold studs. Okay, everyone, this is where I meet you guys back. So yeah, you know, I said to torque it down, kind of threw that all out the window, as there are a couple nuts, like legit, there's two right next to each other. There's not a shot in hell you're getting any fitment in there for a torque wrench. So I just torqued them with a wrench, or I should say my good old friend Sam. Regardless, they got them down in there. Some I could torque, so I kind of worked on the outside and inside, outside, inside. In a general term, I just went for the 13 Newton meters. It's just too tight to get everything in, but it is in. The heat blanket is kind of sort of intact. And I do have the compressor houser in. It is kind of straight up, so if you want to know a reference, leave some wall space here. So you can get that coupler in there. We have to undo it, so don't make the same mistake. I'll show everyone underneath. Alrighty, as we slide underneath, like I said, I use a combination of the new nuts, as you can see there, and the kind of the old taller flange nuts. More accessible area, especially spinning it by hand, is a little better. I cleaned them up a little bit, so they should be okay. And yeah, once again, we can see the compressor housings in. This one here, and the one kind of hiding up there is a little better from the bottom. However, the one a little tall up top, and of course there's one kind of directly up across from this, it is better as well from up there. All right, it's a new day. To give you an update, you see the oil feed right there. And then we're gonna jump down to the bottom, and we could see, it's kind of hard to film, but right there in front of us is our oil supply for the block. So it's kind of hard to film the entire way. That's from kind of stopping and cutting. But that's just an M6 bolt by 16. Camera's going out of focus. And then that fitting comes with the kit. However, though, the O-ring, it seals internally. So like, it might be hard to see it, but if you really zoom in on it, there's a gap between the fitting and the block. That is normal. So do not be concerned, because I was tripping about it. And once again, same goes for right there. Just put some white lithium grease like that to help the O-ring seat a little bit. So that is the coolant supply from the block. Sorry. That bolt was kind of tough because, as we could see, I was shooting it through kind of this angle, and you don't have the right angle to make this happen. You gotta put a lot of swivels. I put a little piece of tape on this bolt here, or screw I should say, that it didn't drop out. So that was the difficult part. Once again, you want to kind of keep this area clear. Normally, the coolant pipe that would come with the car, but once again, big boost or whatever happened, did not include it. So this pipe would then go feed to the water pump. I'll drop some screenshots as well. And then this would kind of go like this. I don't know if this is too long or what not the case, but I believe it should clear the downpipe. Pretty sure I'll clear the downpipe. Once again, I'm happy I did kind of put this protective layer on it. Once again, the oil return will be easy as well down here. This is the oil return. It's already bolted in. That's when no problem. But my fitting is a little too long, so I shall put the block connector over here. and then kind of mock up the distance and cut it and clamp it while it's in the car. I think that's the best way to do it. Okay, so as mentioned before, we got the oil drain on the turbo and then onto the vehicle as well. Once again, I put this piece in first and then bolted this to the turbo and then wiggle that back on and clamp it down. Definitely use a swivel for these. It's definitely kind of difficult. And as predicted before, my tube was a little long, so I just cut a little bit off and then it fit no problem, and we can see everything's nice and secure. So now to work for the coolant return, once again, there's the water pipe hole and there's the line for that one, which might be too long. So one step I was really confused with is about the water pump. I'll try to get some good angles and stick the phone in here. So that's the water pump right there on the left of the screen. And we can see that's the water pump bracket. So that's the top bolt and the two bottoms. So after you will remove this and then bolt the water pump just the two bottoms. To remove them, they are E12. You can get the top one and the bottom right from the bottom of the car. However, it is a lot easier if you just reach in there. So once again, it's a 3/8 ratchet on a E12, and then from this angle you kind of see it. So kind of it's kind of hard to show. Once again, my hand is there, but you kind of stick your hand and feel. It is at a weird angle, but this is not very long and they're not too heavily torqued. So once again, you can kind of see all three bolts right there. So I'll remove those and then go back and bolt the water pump, aka mini turbo, back onto the block. Use a little thumb drive to kind of give myself some leverage once they're broken. And once again, there's the first two bolts. And then now I'm kind of just spinning them out by hand for the last bolt. There it is. This is the water pump bracket. So now with the water pump bracket out, kind of hard to notice, but these two bolts are actually where the water pump goes, and then these two bolts where the bracket goes to the block. You can tell because they're not threaded. These ones are, these ones are threaded and these ones are smooth, not threaded. So now, since these are equal distance, you'll take these two bottom bolts, not need the top one, and bolt the water pump back to where these would normally sit through the bottom of the water pump. Give everyone a visual on the car to see how that looks. So I kind of have the water pump kind of in place, trying to find the best angle. As you know, it's extremely difficult, extremely tight. So get the water pump out the way. It's always dripping coolant forever, even though I started. Oh, there it is. So those two bolts now, bolt holes. Once again, kind of impossible to get a focus on here, but they will line up with the bottom of the water pump, and then we shall build the rest of it towards the block fitting over here, the way Big Boost specs it out. So I'll bolt on the water pump and then continue building out that water pipe. And make sure you still have your little rubber grommets in the back still intact. So once again, I will go and put that in. Okay, so here's the update. You can see the socket in there. To use all the extensions I had basically and get the bolts down there in the bottom. The other one right next to it wasn't too bad. You could kind of get it from here on a swivel, maybe even a straight, depending on how much wobble you have between your extensions. So now that is there. This is the plug for it. You can see this clip here. Remember to kind of try to remove it out this clip and see what you can do to try to maybe arrest it down, because you need to plug it in down here, but the drive pulley is right here. So of course you do not want that rubbing. So I'm sure trying to pull it from this connector and see where else I could get some slack, because this was a tight connector as it is. So, but yeah, I'll pull that down and I'll try to see it. Maybe even pull it around the other side. Regardless, we'll tighten this bolt up, and then we can see from the, I believe this is from the thermostat. This little U-bend hose goes over here, no problem. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll probably throw the wastegate actuator on before over here kind of gets too hectic. So I'll make sure I'll film that, because I know that's an important part as well. So the water pump is in, and the same bolts that I use for the brackets, I just kind of shot through, as I showed you in the previous, through the fender well.
I did get the clip in. I had to remove this E12. I don't really know what it does. It looks like a grounding strap right next to it. And then through a zip tie to support the wiring. However, I did plug it in. I also opened up this little clip here. I'll put it back when I'm putting everything together. It does run behind the brace, so I believe once I relieve this, this will also give this more slack. So that's not much of an issue. So moving on to the wastegate actuator. Once again, I hope everyone already pre-calibrated this. Like again, I kept this away from all my parts. I did not want to recalibrate this thing again. So the way it's going to go in now is going to go down, shoot through, and then there are 2 bolts. You kind of see bolt hole right there. I believe there's some right next to it. One's an M8, one's an M10. What I'm going to do though is put my own, like I said, wastegate actuator linkage arm on here now, like that, and then get the C-clip on. Here's one of the 2. Of course, the bigger one goes for here. And then that way, this should just be shooting out in the back of the car, and I'll just have to slip this over the back. I believe this should be a lot easier way, because as you know, they show that they're building this in the car, then all of a sudden they're adjusting this wastegate outside the car, and it's kind of ridiculous. I know, but that's what we have to deal with. So that's what I'm going to do right now, and I'll update everyone after. Okay, now we see we have the wastegate on there. Let me sneak you guys in the car. We see I got the 2 bolts on. So what I did first, like I said, using that in front of the fan as the best access port I could, and I guess right underneath the axles, I would kind of put this in place. And since that, once again, that was already pre-adjusted, I dropped that on the, I guess, the pivot point of the wastegate flapper. So I put that to close position, of course, because it's already pre-calibrated, and I dropped that on, and then I put the pin in, or clevis pin, sorry, to kind of hold it in, and then I went back and, as previously stated, you can kind of see it, drop those 2 bolts in. I believe the top one is an M10 and the bottom one is an M8. So I'm gonna put the oil back in, and then we shall work on the coolant as mentioned before. So I believe this is the setup. Excuse the very messy desk and all the hose clamps everywhere. Once again, if you had the proper pipe from Big Boost, it would not look like this. Between me and my fabricator, we did some stuff to kind of make it work. He was trying to modify pipes off the car, so of course the measurements are kind of off. So here we have, this is a coupler, is right next to the turbine housing. So I didn't want it to kind of burn through the heat, so I put some kind of exhaust shielding on there so it has no issues there. So once this is going to kind of marry up, of course, in more, and that equals the coolant supply. This is for the automatic transmission. I have a manual, so I don't need that. So I'll just put a cap, and close that off. So I'll go to try to fit this first, and then maybe lube this up a little bit, and then try to fit this over once again, put it in, and then also we could put my turbo oil, my coolant return. So let me bolt these in. It's very simple once again. So I was wrong, forgive me. I fed the actuator in the whole assembly in through this hole. So maybe if the water pump wasn't there initially, you could have maybe gotten away with a little easier time. However, I just kind of fed it through here and took my time slowly but surely. For reference, this is the crash bar, and then right next to the fan. This is where I fed it in. So right now you can see I just have it sitting there. I haven't bolted in yet. Once again, I haven't got up from underneath the car. But we can see the actuator linkage is right here perfectly. So once we get it bolted up, of course, we'll just, that's like they said, make sure this is closed and put it over. And I should have enough space to kind of just put the circlip back on there. And that should be the wastegate actuator. I know a lot of people get hung up on this, but this, I believe this was the best way to do it. So you could avoid grief of trying to adjust this while it's already kind of bolted in the car. We are back on another day. Once again, we can see we have the coolant pipe in. Once again, these are M6 by 16. There's 1, 2, and there's one on the other side across from this. Don't make this mistake I did. This assembly here, I put it inside the car with it on. However, you could probably not do that. Save your hassle, because the bolt on across from his, so in between there, you cannot access unless you have it these two sections removed. It's pretty straightforward though. So it's only 5 bolts around. Once again, I upgraded these to stainless steel. It's not like they're a grade 8.8 or anything. So that's pretty easy. Once again, this coolant pipe is in. As seen previously, I heat wrap this so it doesn't burn through. This will normally go on this side. Once again, this is all custom. So I would like to shout out to put the long S piece, this kind of thing. You're gonna see it going a little bit everywhere. I fed it up between, I guess this is the subframe and the steering rack, and then the axle. So I kind of shoved it up in there and left one side on over here. Oop, and the next side over here. What I did do, some tips, I did lube out the outside with some weightlifting grease to let it slide around a little easier. And once again, I kind of put this side in as this was loose, because trying to push this in while this is kind of dangling, it's kind of impossible. So you pull this side towards you and you connect this piece to it, tighten it up. Especially I had to tighten it up because this is right next to it, so it would make it impossible. And then I'll put in the part that it clamps to the block. So you can see this is firm. This one is tightened. However, the other various ones are not so firm, so I still gotta tighten those up. It does angle a bit down. I don't know what the Big Boost pictures show. It shows it kind of going in the equal plane. However, that is not the case. As well as he did show it with literally nothing else besides the turbine housing. So of course it's not really realistic to the application. So this various 6, 7, and 8 millimeter screws or a flathead screwdriver tighten up all the clamps. Once again, kind of sliding around everywhere. That little adapter piece is sitting there. We can see that little cap I was talking to everybody about right there. So I'm gonna tighten that up, and I believe I should be okay. And then I believe I checked the instructions again, whether it's the down pipe or the mountain bracket first. But besides that, we are almost getting there. Okay, we're getting really close. You can see I got all the water pump connections bolted on. I don't like how this water pump, you don't do the top clamp, so it kind of just chills there when nothing's bolted to it, like the coolant hoses. But once they're kind of on, it kind of sticks it in place, kind of, sort of. But once again, you can see how that top bolt is not on because the bracket's removed. That's, of course, to make space for the big old turbo sitting here.